VGK will try to break its three-game losing streak at the Islanders on Tuesday night against a team that just had its seven-game win streak halted in Tampa Bay on Sunday. More on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. I am here along with VGK season ticket holder Golick, as well as the collectibles editor for the Hockey News. And thanks for making us your first listen every day. As I said before, previously on several shows, please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. Coming up today on this edition, we will also talk about, is it time to trade Adin Hill, and our locks and predictions for tonight's game. We're brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is coming up on Sunday. Go to FanDuel.com. VGK and NYI are both having some issues coming into this matchup here on Tuesday night. Jack Eichel and I don't know. I got to tell you, man, Alex Pietrangelo, I'm not quite sure how he's going to rebound after that Cooley hit the other night, but he took a maintenance day. Both of those players were out yesterday, and that could mean anything for VGK. But Bruce Cassidy saying afterwards that they will be just fine in the lineup today. There are missing pieces as well for the Islanders out of their lineup now. Matt Barzal. Barzal blocked a shot off the stick of Nikita Kucherov on Sunday, and he is now listed as out with a lower body injury and out indefinitely, they say, as he took a puck. And I don't know where it hit him, but definitely hurt and broke something. Barzal already has missed 21 games for the Isles. Scott Mayfield listed as day-to-day. Semyon Varlamov and Marcus Hogberg are still out for the Isles. An interesting game coming up tonight, Chris, as both teams are looking for a big victory before they head into this break.
This is like the worst possible team I think the Golden Knights could have to play right now, given their current circumstances. Locally, the sportsbooks like VGK minus 145 favorites against a team that's at home, against a team that's been playing pretty well. I mean, there's a lot of things going against the Golden Knights, but when the sportsbook says something like this, that's usually a sign of what's to come. And they have to play the game, obviously, but it's not as obvious as you would think when you look at this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But like I said, Islanders are the worst team in the universe to play right now. Golden Knights are having a little trouble scoring. Of course, their defending isn't going very well. Actually, I don't know if I'll say it like that. The defending I thought was actually pretty good against the New York Rangers. I think the goaltending is where things went wrong, as that'll segue into our second segment, of course. So I'm assuming, I think Coach Cassidy alluded to it, all the lines or all the pairings are going to stay the same and everything. So boring game tonight, low event hockey. They're hanging a 6 as an over-under on this game. I don't know if I'm buying into that either. Feels like it's a 2-1 game, 3-2 type of game at the most. Maybe a late goal send it to overtime and it winds up becoming a 4-3 game or something like that. But tight game, not a lot of space out there, and the Golden Knights are going to have to win in a circumstance that's literally the most challenging circumstance they can face right now.
Yeah, a lot of question marks, as we mentioned, for the Islanders as well. They did win 7 straight. They've won now 7 of their last 8, and they put up a battle there at Tampa despite being shorthanded. And VGK, they need to finish plays. I was looking at some numbers. I think it was 6 high-danger shots before they had that Eichel goal on the power play there in the final seconds of the first period against the Rangers. So they're getting in deep, but they're just not finishing.
Yeah, and now you have an Islanders team that's going to take away, likely, VGK's most lethal scoring ability, and that's transitional plays. That's coming in off the rush, and whether it's a 2-on-1 or Jack Eichel just basically going coast to coast and firing a wrist shot, Islanders have a good, tough defensive structure that doesn't allow for that. Now, same breath, Islanders are going to have some moments where they're going to fall apart and things like that too. So maybe the Golden Knights will have a couple opportunistic moments. Islanders shut out the Golden Knights
Yeah,
last time.
2-0. 2-0 was the
Nothing,
final.
boring game. Yep, I remember that now. Okay.
Remember, I had pointed out, though, the structure of the Islanders, the way that they defended. You talked a little bit about it, but I just recall from that earlier meeting the fact that the Islanders, if you got past the first defender, there was a wave of defenders behind them. So they just clogged the middle of the ice, and there's a lot of sticks, and they just get the sticks on the pucks. They win the puck battles, and they're just tough up the middle. I thought that they played very well defensively, perhaps the best I thought that an opponent had prepared or plays against VGK. That's why this is such an interesting matchup coming up tonight, because I just feel the Islanders' defense, even though they're missing pieces, defensively they could stay in this game.
They're going to bore the Golden Knights to death, and the Golden Knights are playing like a bored team right now. Trying to everyone's taking their crack, trying to figure out, why is this happening? And my narrative is the complacency aspect, and Coach Cassidy maybe projecting this might happen and not staying ahead of it. But you've got goaltending issues, you've got depth scoring coming into major question. You got a new player in the lineup in Brandon Saad that should yield a positive return as the season progresses. Is it going to happen tonight as he's getting comfortable in a new system with Coach Cassidy? I don't know if that's necessarily how that's going to shake out. Looking at the last time these two teams played, looking at the high danger chances that you brought up, Golden Knights generated 12 high dangers to the 7 of the New York Islanders, and the New York Islanders walked away with a 2-0 victory that game. So that tells you that the Golden Knights, I guess, had chances, and maybe it was simply Sorokin. I believe Sorokin was the goalie that night. They might have just had a hot goalie, and if that's the case, then okay, you can live with that every now and then. But you got to assume, looking at the New York Islanders winning streak that they had,
they didn't beat some great teams. They didn't beat a lot of great teams. They
no,
beat the
but
Flyers
look,
maybe
I want to
twice.
look at their defensive mess. Let's look at their defensive stuff right now. I mean, they've given up not many goals at all. On January the 5th against Boston, they won 5-4. And then here's the amount of goals they gave up in each of their games leading up to today. 0, 1, 2, 5 against the Flyers, but then
this
1.
Is why we have
one.
This is why Sorokin. Right, they're all 1s and 2s, right?
1s and 2s, 0, and then 6 against Florida off the back-to-back, and Florida was juiced up because they were going to the White House. So there you go. There.
Okay, so Ilya Sorokin named the NHL's first star of the week because of his performances. So they're going to be going up against a very hot goaltender due to the goaltending issues. They had a reserve in that, or just a rookie against Tampa on Sunday. So that's the reason perhaps why they lost, and they were a little bit beat up and tired and all that. The Islanders also, within the last 8 days, have made some pretty big changes to their lineup. They added Tony DeAngelo, Adam Boquist, Scott Perunovich, is that how you say his name?
Scott Perunovich.
Yeah, Perunovich, right, from St. Louis. They added a rookie from the AHL, Matt Godcombe. So in the last 8 days, they have changed a lot of the faces there. And of course, they're missing pieces, but they also have some firepower. And it might get a little dirty or ugly tonight with DeAngelo in the lineup for the Islanders, because they're going to try to bully VGK, you have to believe.
And what's the response now? If Keegan Kolesar is going to be on the top line, you don't want him out there taking liberties. His job is to score goals when you're on the top line.
Well, the enforcer now has to be Zach Whitecloud.
Apparently, Zach Whitecloud is the enforcer. Yeah, no, you don't want the defense doing it either, because you don't want them being taken out of the play for, roughing coincidentals or Nick Hague. I mean, Nick Hague needs to fight in that circumstance. The first player that's closest to Will Cooley has to drop the gloves. That's just the code in that circumstance. You'd rather not be a defenseman, but if it's going to be a defenseman, let it be Nick Hague. That was the right one right there. Is Raphael Lavoie ready to step into that role? I don't know. Lavoie, I like his ability to hit and generate scoring chances from down low, and the tight checking game and all of that. But Lavoie might be the player. Lavoie actually could be the answer. He's got the size. He does have seems like the pedigree to be that kind of pesty type of player that's going to get in there and muck it up a little bit. So that might be the answer. And if the Golden Knights get dragged into a fight, hopefully they got the right types of players that will help. And you know what might be good tonight, Tony, honestly? A line brawl. This might be one of those games where there's like 120 penalty minutes. You got guys bleeding in intermission, all
Has
pissed off
VGK
about
ever
what they're
had a
going to do.
line brawl? Have they ever had one? I'm trying to think here, and I
I
cannot
mean, you go back to
remember.
like the
It's got
Florida
to be
Panthers,
Revo.
like the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup final. Like at the end of the games, you've had some stuff and some moments, but really you haven't seen just an all-out line brawl. And I don't necessarily mean a line brawl as much as I mean just the type of game where here you go, Tony, a slumping baseball team. Things aren't going well. All of a sudden, someone gets hit by a pitch. The bench is clear, and you got to fight on the field. And all of a sudden, the team comes together and gets better. So maybe this is the type of game where there's 120 penalty minutes at the end of the day. There's one of those ruckuses where 4 people get thrown out in the third period, and the Golden Knights win a tough like 2-1 game after just fighting for their life the entire game. This would be a perfect spot for that. Now you got the Four Nations coming up. We only want to get hurt for the Four Nations. Oh no, it's not. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so Petro, I'm thinking is probably I would just shut him down at this juncture. Why not? I would just shut him down. Like he took a vicious head. He's been ailing with all sorts of injuries. They're talking about perhaps a groin, but now he's got some other injuries to kind of equalize that groin injury now, probably up top, like shoulder, who knows,
You
head.
got the cuckoo bird coming out of the old school like clock, doo doo cuckoo. That's what happened
How's that go?
when Pietrangelo got hit pretty good.
How's that
What's
go?
that?
Yeah,
Cuckoo,
let's hear that.
cuckoo. You got
So
the
so
graphic too. No, listen, really fast. I mean, I'm
go
with
ahead.
you. I'm with you on Pietrangelo. Shut him
Shut
down.
him
2
down.
more
Shut him
games.
down.
Give him 4 more days of rest.
Yeah.
There's nothing
He's
nothing
got a lot of
positive for
chores
him being
around
in the
the
lineup
house,
right now.
man. A lot of honeydews. Get home. Get home.
Well,
His wife wants him home right now.
how about the fact you got Caden Korzak, who is a very able defenseman?
He's not on
You
the
got
road
Ben
trip.
Hutton, who is a very able
Is Ben Hutton
defenseman.
on the trip? He's got to be, right?
Yeah, I think they've been healthy scratches. They're both healthy. They're fine.
Okay, they're both there, you think?
Why not sit him for the next 2 games? What could go wrong? The Golden Knights lose 2 more games. I mean, they've been terrible for the last 3.5
It's
weeks.
going to be
or
all
so.
about that late season push now. It is. It's really going to come down to that.
Absolutely.
It's battling
and it happens
now
every
for
year.
first
Like this
place
is not
and for,
out of the ordinary.
position. VGK, as we mentioned, needs that depth scoring. We can't overstate that enough. And I like how Cassidy yesterday had explained again how he comes up with the lines for each and every game. It depends on the matchup, obviously. But he said, and it makes sense, that he started off the season with pairs. And so the pairs for him, he just has Eichel and Barbashev. Then you can add that third player. It could be Kolasar. Who knows? It could be Stone on any given night. Olofsson started the season there, right? And Dorofeev and what have you. But that's how he pretty much puts his lines together. And he wants those 2 players together at all times as much as he possibly can.
And listen, Cassidy's a great coach. No one's gonna change that perspective. Howden and Stone are also a pair as well, going back to the last 2 seasons. So that's where the Golden Knights are right now. Howden and Stone are together, and hopefully Brandon Saad can find a way to gel with that line, at least for the short term. Cassidy also
40 games without a goal. 40 games without a goal.
Yeah, that was a good stat yesterday. Cassidy also did mention that sometime they might go back to it. So this seems just to be kind of something they're doing to get some juice. Good interview by Cassidy yesterday. But again, early in the interview, hey, we did this. And we had some fun at the end of practice. We played a little mini game. We had some fun. We wanted to get their skill on display. This ain't the time for fun.
That's hockey. That's hockey.
This is not. Yeah, I mean, if the Golden Knights, if this continues,
he's trying anything to try to loosen up the team and to try to get them to play without really overthinking.
Stop loosening them up. Crack the whip. Don't take that the wrong way, folks.
I think you know what? I think players might have taken the words of Cassidy personally the other night when he said that players are in a slumber. He even
So glad
corrected
you
what
brought this
Eichel
up.
said about frustration. I would take it personally if I'm a player and the coach is saying a lot of our players are sleeping. They're in a slumber.
So some of the things that Coach Cassidy said after the Rangers game,
Rangers,
when
yeah.
the frustration, I think it was Ashley that said, or Gary Lawless, whoever it was, I don't care. It's one of the
Oh, come on.
one of the team employees.
These are shill questions,
No,
bro.
but here
Come on.
the shill gets worse, Tony. I don't know if you caught this yesterday or not. So Coach Cassidy said he didn't like the word frustration. He'd rather hear pissed off. He'd rather
Yeah.
hear stuff like that. Keegan Colasar gets the interview in the locker room stall yesterday. Okay.
What did he say?
Ashley
What did he
Weiss.
say?
Ashley says, "Hey, is there one word that you can use to describe all of this?" And
Oh, did he say
Colasar
frustrated?
kind of waits for a second. He's like, "We're pissed off. We just want to win hockey games." He regurgitated
Oh my
everything
gosh.
that Cassidy said. So that was planted. I'm sorry. That was an absolutely planted
You're
interview.
kidding me.
Or if it wasn't planted, Colasar watches all of Coach Cassidy's pressers, and Colasar was
While he's eating burritos.
That was not a good moment for Colasar. I'm sorry.
Coming up next, is it time to trade Adin Hill? Our big discussion next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Super Bowl 59 is here, and the point spread currently, the Kansas City Chiefs, they are favored by 1.5 over Philadelphia. The total on this game, 49 and a hook. There's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, you got to be a lunatic to do that. FanDuel makes it easy to get into the action. There's live betting all game long, and you can adjust the bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from the kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is so easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets on Super Bowl Sunday, well, that is just added value and something that you need to cash in on. Download the app today or head to FanDuel.com. You can get started right now, bet just $5. And if you win, you will score $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. Back on this Four Nations reject. Back on this edition.
I saw it.
Well, I forgot what I put up there. Again, this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Where are you watching the Super Bowl? Do you go out? Have any plans?
Home.
Just home. Yeah.
The family does goofy. We make our own. I don't want to say parlay cards, but we do like a bingo card type of thing. We'll do like 10 items, and then each of us will pick. Like it'll start with the coin flip. We'll each pick heads or tails, and it'll be related to the commercials. It'll be related to the color of the Gatorade at the end of the game. And whoever gets the most items right wins nothing.
This is how I started with the bookie running numbers in Newark when I was a little kid. So, yeah. Okay. So why should VGK trade Adin Hill? He's a free agent at the end of this season. And right now, he is probably going through some of those contract issues. We saw the way that it weighs on people last season. You know, Chandler Stevenson, he admitted it at the end of the season. And Jonathan Marchessault comes to mind here with VGK. And we don't know if there have been any negotiations between the two sides. But what made you bring up this topic?
Oh, it's on me. I like that. So a few reasons why.
Is that good? I threw it to you.
No, that's fine. And number one, I've heard they've been talking for a period of months trying to get something locked.
So they've been talking. There are talks. Okay.
Adin Hill wants to get paid, and you look at what's been happening in the goalie universe as far as the contracts that are going around right now. Adin Hill's like, hey, Stanley Cup winner. I had a pretty good playoff run. I've been pretty good in the regular season. My turn. Give me some money here. And it's very strange now watching how this is going to play out, right? What kind of money does Adin Hill think he's worth? It's north
5 times 7.
I think he's pushing for somewhere in the 7 million AAV range, and you're probably pretty close to that.
Yeah, we didn't discuss this. That's just a guess.
You can tell me right now there's not a world that exists where Adin Hill didn't see the Logan Thompson contract. He's like, whoa, this is my understudy. I was the Stanley Cup winner, so I'm worth more. I don't think he is worth more right now, but that's the GMs will figure that out in the coming weeks or months, depending on how long this goes. Kelly McCrimmon's going to toss this right back to Adin Hill and say, bro, look at what Logan Thompson's doing without this elite defense, and look what you're doing. So no, you're not worth Logan Thompson money. God, that sounds so funny to say it like that.
I can't imagine the hardball that they play. They're the made men, and they call you in the office and they try to shake you down. They put the light on you and everything, all that.
I've heard stories that Amadio, they tried to shake Amadio down pretty hard last year in the parking lot, as weird, as crazy as that sounds. But no, so why are we even talking about this? Well, number one, the fans are talking about this. It doesn't take long to scroll up in any of the Facebook groups or up and down Twitter, and people are talking about the possibility of trading Adin Hill. So maybe we're reacting a little bit to the social media stuff, or maybe there is more to it right now. Are the Golden Knights going to be able to come to terms with Adin Hill? That's the first question. I think the answer is possibly a no. Let's assume the Golden Knights, just the best of the best happens. Golden Knights go to the promised land. They win our Stanley Cup. Adin Hill doesn't have to be as good of a run as
no. The promised land is the Four Nations Cup.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine.
Cassidy again talking about the importance of it yesterday.
Oh yeah. No, that was awesome.
That's why he's not focused. Maybe. Too.
I don't think the full focus is on the Golden Knights. And I don't think it's just a Cassidy thing. I think it's a lot of the teams, but yeah.
It's all about Team Canada. He
doesn't talk about Team USA much. You are right about that. Eichel, I think, asked him a question about it or something he mentioned in the interview. So back to where we're going here about Adin Hill and everything. If the story plays out, Golden Knights do win another Stanley Cup, that would be really nice. Number one. Number two, then of course they'll find a way, and he will get probably that $6-something million AAV from the Vegas Golden Knights because they won't have much of a choice. If it doesn't play out like that, then Adin Hill is almost certainly going to walk in free agency. So I guess there's two questions. What is Adin Hill's value right now as far as what the return could be? And is there a situation where you're going to trade Adin Hill for another goalie on a team that's ready and able to step in and possibly win your team a Stanley Cup? So I don't think the answer is no there. It would be a series of trades that would lead to another goalie being on the VGK roster. As far as what the end game would be, well, if you trade Adin Hill, you get rid of his $4.9 million AAV. If there's another goalie out there for $2 or $3 million that the Golden Knights can trade for, all of a sudden you got more money at the deadline. Number two, is there a diamond in the rough that could come out of nowhere? Chicago Blackhawks, Antti Niemi. No one even knew who he was at the start of the season, and he leads the Blackhawks to their first Stanley Cup in 40 years or whatever it was when they beat the Flyers in 2010. So where are we going with this right now?
Where are we going with this?
Carl Lindbaum. Someone brought this up on social the other day, and I looked up his stats. I'm like, okay, let's look at Carl Lindbaum for a second.
How much is he making?
Oh, so you think league minimum. He's making Logan Thompson money. He's probably making more than Logan Thompson right now, but it's league minimum.
The best case scenario for Adin Hill would be to win Four Nations, because then he'll have some value, and that's right before the March the 7th trade deadline.
So this guy can go and.
I have to ask you this though. Let me ask you this. So I'm assuming that VGK is lowballing Adin Hill, a la what they've done to every other player. So they're probably coming back now. Is it the same amount of money? What are you hearing? Same amount of money? Less?
I'm hearing it's in the ballpark. I don't have
in the ballpark. Number, what about term? What about term? 4, 5?
Well, that's the thing here. This is a question that both sides are going to have to figure out right now.
I got it. I know. I got the solution, bro.
Okay.
Deferred payments.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go.
Jonathan March, so deferred payments for 13
years.
I'm sure that's
what was
great.
it? How many years? Idea. Yeah, it was great.
Adin Hill's 28 years old. Birth date is May 11th. He'll be 29 pretty soon.
All right, mark it.
Do you want Adin Hill for 4 more years on your roster? And that's the first question the Golden Knights have. Forget the money. I mean, if Adin Hill will take 4 times 4, fine, lock him up. 4 times 4, we'll figure it out. He's not taking 4 times 4. Not now. Not now. He might be stuck taking that in the offseason from somebody. He's not taking that now. Do the Golden Knights want 4 more years of Adin Hill? I think that answer should be a no. I think that should be a no.
I agree with
any if it's anywhere near his market, which is probably around a 5 million AAV. But back to Carl Lindbaum, this is intriguing to me. Playing for the Silver Knights, they've been playing better. To be fair, I'm assuming Carl Lindbaum probably has something to do with that. But how about a 915 save percentage and a 282 goals against on a terrible Silver Knights team? They're terrible, and it's not. Look at their stats. Look at their spot in the standings. I'm not saying boom, trade Adin Hill for nothing, get the cap space, and bring in Lindbaum and see if that's the answer. That's maybe a little bit extreme, or maybe it's not that extreme. I guess in closing for me in this segment is I know people are going to look at this and be like, this is crazy. What are these clowns talking about? They got the clowns part, right? But the topic is valid. And who are the untouchables for the Golden Knights? It's going to be Eichel. It's going to be Eichel, Stone, Carlson. Yes, I agree with that.
They will never,
Shea
ever,
Theodore and Pietrangelo. Right. Those are the untouchables right now.
Okay.
Those are the untouchables. Anyone else on this roster is
touchable.
Anyone could be traded on the Vegas Golden Knights besides those 4 untouchables or 5, however many I said. So It is not the farthest fetched scenario for the Golden Knights to consider trading Adin Hill anytime between now and March the 7th. I believe.
Yeah, March 7th. But again, I think it just comes down to his performance in 4 nations as far as his stock, his value, because especially
let him do well. Let someone else
right,
fall
someone
in love
else.
with him.
That'll drive his price up. And again, VGK was a shill for him earlier on in all that. Let's watch him.
Yeah, amazing how the press conferences have changed, Tony. How about that?
Exactly.
How about that?
Exactly. What did I tell you? It sounded like a setup from day one. Coming back with the locks of the night and our predictions for tonight's game right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back, Locked On Golden Knights, for this Tuesday. Man, days just fly by. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. Again, find us where you get your podcasts. And please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel, where you sometimes find on Saturdays the Chris Times Chris Jr. show. But it was another variation of Chris Times Chris.
Hey, we got it.
Weekend.
You got it.
Okay, you got one in. You have a 1-week streak, win streak. And don't forget Friday's WTF Day right here. So it's time for our locks of the night and our predictions. As I want to call this place USB. It's UBS, right? UBS Center there at Belmont Park. So would have been cool.
Belmont? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's right there. So
Belmont's still there. Are they knocking down or anything?
No, they refurbished it, and so I don't think it's done yet.
How cool is that? You get to go to Belmont during the day and then catch I'm sure they're not racing right now, but it'd be cool.
Right. Well, I used to do that at the Meadowlands back in the day. That's where the Devils played. That's where
I was racing at the Meadowlands. Let's go.
Oh, geez. Some rough nights there, bro. 15 minutes from home. 15 minutes away. That was true.
It's awesome, dude. I love harness racing.
I'm going to go with Barbashev, and I will take Brett Howden. The former Ranger hates the Islanders. That's how I came up with him. And I'm going to go with a 3-2 Islander victory. I agree with you. Low-scoring affair. And VGK scores the first goal, and then the next 3 by the Isles, and then a late goal probably by Barbashev for VGK.
This is tough. I gotta write that down again. Give me yours again, Tony. I was looking at
3-2 Islanders, Howden, Barbashev. Oh, by the way, too, Lars officially off of Team Sweden. It came out yesterday. Ricard Raquel will be taking his spot on Team Sweden. So that's it for Lars.
There go the ticket sales. This is so tough. Like every ounce of me looks at the betting line and says, wait a minute, I can take a hot New York Islanders team that just shut out the Vegas Golden Knights a few weeks ago, a slumping VGK team who's added a new piece in Brandon Saad, but a slumping VGK team
against the
plus 120.
A nicked up Islander team, though. They're nicked
up. No, it's fair, Tony. Yeah. It's fair. But I'm not going to play into the sportsbooks trap on this, and that's why I think the Golden Knights are going to come out victorious based on just what I'm looking at the sportsbook right now. These lines are pretty on usually when it comes, especially this early in the day. The pool can't be that big in any of these places. They'll get bigger as the day goes on. So I'm going to go 3-2 Vegas. Tight game. Let's get Saad on the sheet. That'll be fun. Let's go Saad and Lavoie. I think this is Lavoie's
Jeez.
first call on locks of the night and predictions. So Saad
Yeah.
and Lavoie. It's February the 4th. I just called Brandon Saad and Raphael Lavoie for locks of the night. What world are we living in, Tony? This is awesome.
Neither
such
of those
another
on
VGK
the
year.
roster.
This is
Yeah,
such a
it's
VGK season.
such a VGK season. Keeps obviously our viewership, listenership up here because it's again, there's never a dull moment around VGK. So again, Golick breaks the news there that Adin Hill has been in contract conversations with VGK. That's
For
the moral of
months.
the story today.
For months.
For months. Okay. And that's got to weigh on you. I'm sorry, man. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Tomorrow's show, we will have a recap of the Islanders VGK game. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Please subscribe, and we'll see you again tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. And please take care.
Wrong button.